Music.
Okay. And let me share my screen. Were you able to download the checklist? And can you guys see my screen okay? Okay. Move this off to the side. All right. So we are recording, and thank you guys for joining. Really excited to be talking to you about my pre-ride checklist. When I started back after my accident, I didn't know what to do to go get on the first time. The thought of getting on was the hardest part. And I think it might have even been a little bit because my accident happened 30 seconds after I got on the horse. So it was right after I mounted that I had the accident. And that made it harder. But really, when I look back at it, if I had had a pre-ride checklist, I would have never gotten on that horse. You know, if I had looked at where I was at and I had looked at where the horse was at and I knew how to look at that, I wouldn't have gotten on. And my accident was because I didn't know. I didn't look. I didn't pay attention. And so I've been working on my pre-ride checklist. And what I discovered was I needed to break it up into the rider and the horse. I'm going to run through the rider first. Let me see. Hey, can you mute? I think I'm hearing a little bit from you in the background. First thing was attitude. Mentally, are we ready to go be with our horse? And this was a big one for me. Many times I said I wanted to go ride, but I would get down there and not ride. I would get to the horse and I would not ride. So that told me that mentally I wasn't ready. And when you mentally aren't ready to ride, your horse is going to know that. So what are a couple things you can do mentally to prepare? The next one on here is visualization. And that really helped me mentally prepare. And that is, I just started visualizing a great ride, a great time with the horse. I got excited about riding again. I got excited about being on the horse again. And so that visualization played into the next thing, which was me feeling happy and calm. I felt relaxed. It really led me into just the feeling that I wanted to be riding again. And the more I filled myself up with those feelings, there wasn't room for the feelings of anxiety. It didn't leave any holes for that to be there. So then I also decided to put together a plan for the day. Now I was open to change, and today was a perfect example of that. I planned on trimming Michelle's feet, and she wasn't comfortable, so I trimmed her front feet. I did not, and the right front foot took me a long time. I actually talked about it in the blog today. And she was just telling me, hey, I'm not real comfortable right now. I don't want you on my right side. And my plan had to change. I had to change from trimming all 4 feet because I didn't have time to just getting done what I could get done and allowing her to have a say in it. And it's the same thing with riding. If I were to go to get on her and she didn't want me on the left side, my plan would have to change. I'd have to figure that out before I got on. So having a plan for the day is really important for me. I plan to ride, but I'm open to change. So that really helped me. Leave the troubles behind. I like to think about when I'm leaving my house to go ride, I like to picture just leaving everything in the house. And when I shut the door behind me, it's like cutting all the ties from my work pressures and any pressures I have going on. I just picture that door shutting and cutting those ties. And I'm free to go be with the horses. I like to think of the top 10 outcomes that I want from the day. First and foremost is I want to feel joy. I want my horse to feel good about the day. Just come up with the top 10 things you want for that day. If you're going to ride, what are the top 10 things would be the absolute best ride you could have? Would it be that you went for an hour? Would it be that you rode 4 steps? That was where I started. Where I started was my top 10 outcome when I started back was 4 steps outside of the arena. Is it riding in the arena? If you got 1 lap around the arena, would that be an awesome outcome for you? It's different for everybody, but just keep a list of what your top 10 outcomes are. And what's really cool about that is it changes over time. I mean, I went from 4 steps to 50 feet to just riding. So that's just a living list. You want to practice being present and mindful. This one trips me up. So when I'm thinking about, okay, we're going to ride today. We're going to ride around the pasture. And then thinking about riding around the pasture, and I'm not being mindful of what I'm doing in that moment, I get my foot stepped on, or the bridle doesn't go on right. So you still have to be mindful and present of the moment that you're in. And horses are the best at this. Horses don't think about what's coming in 30 minutes. Horses know what's going on right now. If a shovel falls over, they're going to look at it. If the wind blows, they're going to notice it. And we really can learn a lot from them about being present and mindful. And then any pain adjustments that are needed. So one day I went to ride and I had just a stiff neck. And I thought, do I get on and ride? I don't know. I can't turn my head to the right. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get on and I'm going to just walk and see how I feel. And if I want to get back off, I'll get back off. Now, the crazy thing is Taka put her nose on my neck for about 20 minutes before I got on and just breathe into my neck. And when she was done, I could turn my head no problem. And I thought, wow. So I had a plan for my pain, and I ended up being able to just go ride because she gave me the gift of taking the pain away. So that's rider attitude. And keep this checklist with you. You can add in what you want. You can, cross off what doesn't work for you. The next thing is movement. So confidently lead your horse. And this just preps you for riding. So if you're like I was leading Michelle the other day, and we had a box blow off of a trailer right behind us. And she spooked, and I thought, oh, I need to head back to the pasture. So I was leading her back to the pasture with her behind me. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, she's going to run me over. Oh my gosh, she's going to run me over. And my thoughts of, oh my gosh, she's going to run me over was making her nervous. She kept looking behind her and trying to run me over because she thought something was chasing us. She thought I was worried about what was behind both of us. As soon as I took a breath and went, I'm confidently leading her, she calmed right down. She was feeding off of me, worried about her. So that's just one of the first things in movement, is just confidently leading your horse. Then you want to be able to confidently move their hind end. And I heard something the other day about this. So it's not so much that they move their hind end away from you, is that they're curious and they follow you with their front end. So that moves their hind end away. And I thought that's something I'm really going to play with, is when I go to ask them to move their hind end, are they bracing against it, or are they softening and following me? And that's something that we can look at in movement before we get on. And then the same thing with the front end. When you walk towards them, they should gently just move their front end away from you. And that's how you know they're in tune with you and they're looking to you as the leader. And then project energy for backing. This is something I've played with a lot. I just put my hand up and wave like this, and they back. And at first, they don't understand that. So what I do is I do this, and then I ask them to back with the lead rope. And once I've got them really good at it, then they should just back up with my hand, asking them to back up and projecting my energy. That's a good way to know they're connected with you before you get on. And then movement. So holding your space. When I'm grooming and tacking up my horses, if they move around, I want to make sure that they're not moving into my space. So that's something I really focus on, is holding my space and watching them move around that space and not into that space. And then the last one on the movement is stretching. And I call this the wiggle walk. I don't know if you guys saw the meeting we had in the guide section with Sam Winslow, but she does yoga and jeans with Sam. She's so good. She does something called wiggle walk. And you move your arms and you move your hips in like a figure 8. And she does it while she's leading her horse. It just stretches all of your body. You kind of feel where you have anything tight, let it go. Another thing that I like, in addition to the wiggle walk, is I like to just scrunch up and really stress everything and then relax and let it go. And again, that tells you where you're holding stress, and you can let it go before you ever get on your horse. So that's movement. We've got rider attitude, we've got movement. The next thing is tacking up. And tacking up, I always thought of it as looking at the horse, but it's also looking at me. Checking in with my confidence, checking in with my connection to the horse. Am I flexible in grooming? Today with Michelle, I could have ducked under her neck and gone to her right side. I could have pushed her head out of the way, but I really was mindful to check in with her and say, oh, you're not comfortable with me on your right side right now. I'm going to back up and we're going to figure this out together. And so that was me showing her that I'm there for her, that I'm not going to just force myself into her space. And I caught myself because I started to duck under her neck. I normally just duck under the neck. When I go from the left foot to the right foot, or from the right foot to the left foot, I just duck under the neck. And I caught myself because she'd already told me that she didn't want me on the right side. And so I went, oh yeah. She needs that space right now. That would be cheating. That would be forcing myself on her. So that's really, you know, that backed me up. And I'm flexible. I don't necessarily do what I had planned on doing when I'm grooming them. Flexible and picking up the feet. This is a huge one for me. I used to force it. I used to like poke them with the hoof pick, and you know, you're gonna pick up your feet. And now I've gotten creative with it. You know, I back them up a step, pull them forward a step, back them up a step. As they're backing up, I'll ask them to pick up a foot, but I don't actually hold it. I just set it back down. So there are some days when they don't want to have their feet picked up, and I'm flexible with figuring out what we need to do so that they pick their feet up without me forcing them to. Breathing deeply while grooming. So when I get anxious riding, I hold my breath. And breathing deeply while I'm grooming, take a breath in, but the most important part is to exhale. And you want to exhale just really deeply. So I do that a number of times when I'm tacking up. Check in with my energy level. Do I have high energy? Am I tired? Just being aware of how I feel so I can set the tone for the ride. If I'm tired and just want to go for a walk, I want to make sure that I'm looking at my horse and making sure that they're not having a day when their energy is way up. If their energy is way up and my energy is way down, that's probably not a day that I want to ride. Or I want to do something to bring my energy level up. Or the opposite, if their energy level is really quiet on a day that I want to go jump, I may figure out, okay, we're just going to go for a hack today. So really looking at your energy level and the horse's energy level. And then be the leader. This doesn't mean force yourself on them. This means have a conversation with them, figure out what's going on. You know, Michelle was super, super cinchy when I got her. I was warned that being off the track, a lot of the horses do have issues with the girth. And so she's actually the one that got me started putting a giant pile of hay in front of them while I tack them up. And while she's eating, her head is down. And as I'm doing the cinch, I can do it one hole at a time, let her breathe, take her for a little walk, do another hole, take her for a walk, let her eat. That's just being the leader. That's being, okay, you're going to get tacked up. Yes, I'm going to do the girth, but I'm not going to do it in such a way that it's going to hurt you. And I'm not going to do it in such a way that I'm just saying, stand there, take it. We're going to work on this together. The next thing is to put on Stress Away and Thieves. So for me, Stress Away is calm. I put it on my right wrist. Thieves is Courage. I put it on my left wrist. That way, if I'm out riding, if I need to calm down and let the horse lead, I smell my right wrist. I've anchored that smell to calm. Stress Away is a vanilla combination. Oh, I just love it. It's so calming. And then Thieves is more of a cinnamon, spice, a little bit of spicy. And if I need to lead, if I need to be up there and I need to say, no, we're going to do this, I smell the Thieves. And it gives me options while I'm riding. And then the other thing I do before I get on is I put a drop of CBD under my tongue. And what this does is this stops the shakes. When I ride, if a horse picks its head up or spooks at something, I start to shake. And to me, that's not fair to the horse. Well, I discovered that CBD under my tongue, just one drop, stops the shakes. So I do make sure I put that on or put that under my tongue before I get on. And then the last thing I do for my rider checklist is mounting. I want to make sure I'm confident to mount. If I'm anxious before I ever get on the horse, I shouldn't be getting on the horse. It's not fair to the horse. I want to be breathing easy. I want to be feeling balanced. One of the things I like to do is I like to stand with my feet a little bit wider than my shoulders and just picture myself on the horse balanced. So I kind of just feel my left foot, feel my right foot, move my balance back and forth. Okay, I'm feeling balanced. And then expecting the horse's quality position. So I expect my horses to stand where I need them to stand quietly and calmly. And that's my responsibility to make sure that I move the saddle, I push on them so that they spread their feet. They're ready for me. They know I'm getting on. And I want to make sure that I can flex them to the left, flex them to the right. Just a little bit. Just pick the rein up on the left side, pick the rein up on the right side, make sure that they're flexing before I get on. And then I mount. I don't hesitate. I don't, do I put a foot over? Do I put a foot in? I just confidently mount. And we stand there. Now, sometimes they do walk off. I'm okay with that. I don't mind if they walk off. It's usually for me, I have all thoroughbreds. They're taught to walk when the jockey's mounting. And so sometimes they just go back into that pattern. So it doesn't bother me at all. I may circle them until they stop and then get myself situated, get my feet in the stirrups correctly. And then once I've mounted, I do feel my weight in the stirrups like I'm standing on the ground. And if you're standing on the ground, your horse is just underneath you and can do anything it wants. You're standing on the ground, even though your feet are in the stirrups. And that just really helps me to feel good. So do you guys have any questions or anything you would, if this was you, what would you add to your rider checklist? And you guys can unmute. Let me see. Would you add anything? You guys there?
Before I get on,
What were you saying? You said before you get on?
I circle the horse
Oh, yeah.
around me.
That's a good one.
First to the right and then to the left.
Yep, that's a good one. Okay. Now we'll go on to the horse. Okay, so with the horse, this is what would have saved me from my accident for sure. If I had done this before, I would not have had my accident. So I look at the horse's attitude. Ears, are they relaxed? Now, the ears tell you so much. Tail, is it relaxed? Easy to pick up the feet. A lot of times with picking up the feet, if they're really good at picking up the feet all the time and they're not picking up a foot, that can be a symptom of something painful. So I know for me, after learning how to trim my horses, I'm really more in tune to when they don't pick up their feet. Okay, I may not have seen them slip in the pasture or something. And so I really am in tune to picking up their feet. And if they don't want to pick up their feet, when I do have the foot up, I will do a front stretch and a back stretch with it just to see and make sure that it feels good. This one is really important to me. I want them relaxed when they set the foot back down. And what I work on is when I set their foot down, I set it down on the toe, and then they can put their weight back on the foot. I don't want them pulling their foot out of my hand. I don't want them stomping their foot down. I make sure that they're relaxed when I'm setting each foot down. And sometimes that's easier on the hind feet than the front feet, but I make sure all 4 feet are just really calm being set back down on the ground. And what I found with doing that is it actually calms them down if they aren't calm. So that's a big help. Easy to lower the head. You shouldn't have any problem asking them to lower their head. They should just be standing quietly. Eating comfortably while grooming. Again, like I said, I make sure I feed mine while grooming, and that's mostly for stomach acid. Now that I know better, horses need to have food in their stomach, or their stomach acid sloshes and can cause them pain, which makes them not want to be ridden the next time. So I make sure they're eating a big pile of hay while I'm grooming and tacking them up. I want to make sure they're enjoying being groomed. Michelle hates to be groomed on her sides. And I don't know necessarily why, but what I do is I switch my brushes out. So I do the grooming mitt and the curry on the neck, the shoulders, her butt, and her legs, and her belly. But on her back and her sides, I just use a soft brush because I really want to make sure that she enjoys being groomed. Easy to clean their ears. I use Seedlings baby wipes and I clean out their ears before I ride, just to make sure there's no mites. Mites in the ears can really wreak havoc on them. And it's not very common, but I just make sure that their ears are clean before I get on. And then movement, you want them walking easily. You want them easily moving their hind end around, easily moving their shoulders around, back quietly, flexing to the right, flexing to the left. And after I do the girth, I stretch the front legs out. And that really lets me know if they've got pain in the back that I didn't notice before putting the saddle on. When I stretch the front legs out, each horse is different, but once you know what that horse is comfortable with stretching their front legs, you can really see if they're tense or tight in their shoulders and their back. And again, circling, like you said, circling is wonderful, right and left. Tacking up, are they easy to put the saddle pad on? I've seen horses that 9 times out of 10 could care less about the saddle pad, and on the 10th time when you go to put the saddle pad on, they'll flick their ears or they'll raise their head a tiny bit, and it's subtle. Sometimes it's very subtle, but I'll respect that and I will take the saddle pad away and just see. Put your head down. You know, do they easily put their head down? Is it the saddle pad going on? What is it? So I'll investigate it. Same thing with the saddle. Usually they're just super quiet when I put the saddle on, but every time I see them, they just raise their head a little bit. And that we work through that because that's telling me that they're not super comfortable at that point. Is it easy to attach the girth and the cinch? Is it easy to pull the girth and the cinch underneath? I like to rub my hands under where the cinch and the girth goes up the girth and just see if rubbing that, if they flick an ear, if they raise their head. Again, I'm just checking to make sure they're comfortable. I had a horse get kicked in the side and there was no swelling. Well, I'm guessing that's what happened. There was no swelling or anything, but when I ran my hand where the cinch would go, she lifted her head just a little bit. And I went ahead and felt around, and when I felt, I could feel a pretty big bruise. It just felt hard and not as soft as her normal skin. So just little cues from them. Is it easy to do the first tightening? I put it on the first holes on one side, and I can tell if they're pinning their ears a little bit, raising their head again, any of the signs that they're not comfortable, we'll go back and figure out what's going on. And then I want them to lower their head for bridling. I don't like a horse that puts his head way up in the air when you're trying to bridle it. Put its mouth for the bit, or you have to fight it. And actually, I'm thinking of going bitless. So I read an article recently. A horse's mouth, when it's shut, its breathing is much more efficient. With a bit mouth, it actually can't breathe how it should. That seal on their lips helps the horses breathe, because they can only breathe through their nose. They cannot breathe through their mouth. I found that really interesting. So I'm going to do some research on that, and I may go completely to bridleless. My horses all ride bridleless. I just like riding in a snaffle bit for some reason, but I may switch that around. And again, you know, that's just some things that are going to go into my checklist if I do go completely bridleless or bitless. Is it easy to put the bridle over the ears? Again, making sure you put the ears forward and put the bridle over the ears, not back. That putting the ears back and putting the bridle over the ears that way is painful for the horse. And do they stand quietly while I'm finishing the girth and cinching? And I do walk my horses. So I put it on one hole, walk them, put it up a hole, walk them, put it up another hole. I don't just put it on and cinch them right up tight. I think of it kind of like me putting on a bra, and I wish I didn't have to put on a bra that tight. And then mounting, again, walking up to the mounting block. Are they calm? Do they walk up there like they want to be ridden? With walking up to the mounting block, I actually have my horses walk from the opposite direction. So I will climb up on the mounting block, facing to the right, and ask them to move all the way around and come up and pick me up. And that way I know they want to do a ride. Do they stand relaxed at the mounting block? When I move the saddle, do they square their feet? I want them really balanced. And are they flexing to me both right and left? And then are they relaxed as I gather the reins? Feel like they're going to take off. And then stand while putting the foot in the stirrup, stand while mounting, and stand quietly after mounting. And again, if they do walk off, I just go ahead and circle them into a stop, finish getting myself set, and off we go. What's helped me the most with having a checklist is I don't forget anything. There are a number of things on here that would have prevented my accident. The horse was not easy to saddle. He wasn't bad, but he was not easy to saddle. And we didn't stop and figure out why. The horse did not lower his head for bridling. The horse put his head up for bridling. We had to go ahead and bridle him. We just did go ahead and bridle him, even though his head was up. He was not standing quietly for the cinch. He was moving. He was, looking back on that accident, he'd been bit by a black widow. He was in pain. He was not comfortable. And yet we just blew through all the signs. We just ignored them. We blew through all of them. He was my brother-in-law's sheriff posse horse. I'd never been around him. I didn't know him. How could a sheriff posse horse be unsafe? Well, they're unsafe when they get bit by a black widow. And if I had followed even half of this, even a few of these things, I would not have gotten on. Once you realize that, once you realize this information before you get on the horse can help you prevent an accident, you're so much more confident getting on because you know the horse is ready, you know you're ready, and you know your mind is in the right place and the horse's mind is in the right place before you ever get on. And that's worth everything to me now. So, did you guys have any questions? What would you add to the list?
Move. This is very hot.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
I'm gonna set it up there.
Oh, Bozell. I've never ridden in a Bozell.
Put me on volume.
Oh, nice.
I'm in a class.
She can hear.
I don't know.
Here.
Hi, everybody. I just brought Dolly to lunch, dinner, whatever.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I'm just reading through the comments. So very good. Yep, flexing your boy on the ground. Very good. And Dorothy, when you flex your boy, what do you look at? Do you look at his ears? What is it, more of a feeling?
I look at when I'm flexing him to the right or to the left, I'm looking to see how soft his eye is and how relaxed his ears are.
Oh, that's good.
Because if he's not relaxed on the ground, then I know I had my accident off his half sister.
Oh,
And yeah, it messed me up really, really bad. She messed my short-term memory up permanently.
oh.
Yeah. The only thing that saved my life that day was my helmet. I didn't have my helmet on. And to that point on my accident, I didn't ride with a helmet on all the time. I'd be like, I forgot it at the house. I'm not worried about it. And this particular day, I didn't have my helmet on, but something in the back of my head said it's better to be safe than sorry. So I went back and got my helmet, put it on. And when I put my foot in the stirrup and I was pulling myself up and over her, as soon as I sat, she bolted. And I didn't even have my right foot into the stirrup on the other side. And I don't even know how I came off of her. I just remember bouncing like a basketball. And lucky enough, my husband was home because he wasn't supposed to be, but he was. Because otherwise, my two kids, they were both in elementary school at the time. And nobody would have found me in that field if he hadn't been home for hours.
Wow.
I got lucky.
Very lucky.
Yes. So now I go through this kind of list all the time. And if they're not safe on the ground, or if he's having, like the other day, I was going to go ride him and he was really just excitable on the ground. And I was like, nope, we'll work you on the ground today. I'm not going to ride because I've learned to read him. I just don't want to be hurt again.
It's so important. It's so important. I mean, looking back and even, reading so many comments about accidents and stuff, not all of them would be prevented with this, but a number of accidents would be prevented if we just paid more attention before getting on. And actually, you brought up a good point. What I need to add onto my checklist is to make sure I wear a life jacket. So I have a vest, a horse riding vest, but my life jacket from the boat fits so much better. It just really fits. So I wear my life jacket and my helmet. And I need to add that to my checklist. I actually don't have it on here. And that's something I need to add as my safety equipment. That's a very good point.
Yeah. See, I'm jumping off into a sport. I'm jumping off into endurance riding. And that's something I'm looking into, is getting an air vest. So when I do these rides, if I come off of him, I'm at least going to be more protected. But
Yeah,
it's
I can't
kind
do
of
the air
fun.
vest.
Yeah.
I tried the air vest, but if I get into a panic, I dismount really quick, and I was burning through the canisters. So I went with the hard vest instead of the air vest. But the air vests are really, really good if you can take your time to dismount. That was the hardest thing for me, is I'm dismount so fast if I need to, that I was popping it all the time.
Yeah.
Uh,
I haven't really had one, never worn one. But all my friends, I've just gotten into endurance this past year, just actually this year,
fun.
and I enjoy it. But I've only done 2 intros, and I was gonna go do a 25 miler, and I couldn't get my horse there because I don't have a truck and trailer. So I was trying to find a ride there. And so we just do a lot of conditioning at home. But I'm wanting to get an air vest, so if I come off on the trails or something, I've just added protection. He's good.
Yeah.
He won't run off. He'll stay with me, which is good. I've actually flipped off of him this year. We were going along on the trail. He was fine. And then there was a mud hole, just a muddy spot. And he put his brakes on. Well, I wasn't expecting brakes, because he normally goes right through anything I point him through. And he put his brakes on, and I went up over his head, right onto his neck. And I was legs up in the air, couldn't figure out where my feet were. And my friend was laughing. It was really, really funny. But that was the first time that I had actually, and I ended up just letting go and just falling into the mud anyway, because I was like, I can't see where my feet are. I can't get myself back around. So I just let go. But I was laughing actually during that. For that one time, I was not scared, because I knew I had his trust, and he trusted me, But I don't know why he was carrying along, just put his brakes on. And man, I just didn't have my seat or something.
Yeah. And then Kay, you say you ride bitless only. How do you like that? You got a concussion when a horse put its brakes on? Oh. We used to have at our barn, if you fell off, you had to bake brownies. And I am not a baker. So I would do everything to stay. I'd be hanging around the horse's ears and climbing back up its neck so I wouldn't touch the ground. And it actually was kind of funny, because during that time, I don't think I fell off. I fell off once at a horse show, but I didn't fall off at all. I did everything in my power to stay on. Yeah, riding with a helmet is good. I've ridden, I can't imagine not riding in a helmet. Since I was probably the last 40 years, I've ridden in a helmet every time I've ridden. And I had a baseball cap on one day, and I didn't consciously think, wow, I didn't take the hat off and put on my helmet. And I'd gotten on, and my friend's like, where's your helmet? And I'm like, what? Jumped right back off and got my helmet. But that's the only time I know of that I didn't have my helmet on. Yeah, riding with a helmet is so important. Let's see. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Anything you want to add? What would you add to checklist if you had something to add. I like the safety equipment. I need to add that on here. Helmet and my life jacket. Well, I won't take up any more of your time. I really appreciate this. If you guys enjoyed this, I do a lot more of this in the Fear to Courage clinic, if that's something that interests you at some point. I'm going to be getting ready to start up another 8 weeks of group coaching in there. And we go through all the different areas of, mentally, we run through a bunch of mental exercises. We run through a bunch of ground play connection exercises, the pre-ride checklist, and then a lot of first rides and getting back into riding and just some fun exercises that I like to do when I'm back on the horses again. So wonderful for you guys joining tonight. I really appreciate it. And I will get this recording up in the group. So it'll be in there if you ever wanted to watch it again. You guys have a wonderful evening and thank you so much.